Today, Sony has released The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered on the PlayStation 5. It's a $10 upgrade if you own it on PlayStation 4, or $50 if you haven't owned it previously, and it's a project that's been surrounded in a lot of confusion, a lot of curiosity, a lot of controversy, because people aren't sure why this actually exists. How much can you really update the graphics of a game that pushed the power of the PlayStation 4 so much? Does it actually play better on the PS5? And what are these new game modes? Let's talk about that. Hi, I'm DreamcastGuy. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, going into this, I was extremely pessimistic because I do enjoy The Last of Us Part 1, but Part 2, it wasn't exactly my cup of tea. A lot of the plot lines about revenge and the bleakness of violence, it just wasn't really something that I felt like was properly delivered. But even if I didn't enjoy the story, I can definitely respect what they were trying to do. Neil Druckmann and the people at Naughty Dog made a very harsh, very critical, very interesting piece of art, even if aspects of it aren't really my style. And most importantly, it plays fantastic. The Last of Us Part 2 is a brutal masterpiece. Crazy takedowns, disgusting animations, and head-popping headshots. It's been a good time. So, what's different in this remaster? Technically, not much. There is a new game mode called No Return, which I want to talk about in depth because I'm already addicted to it, but let's start off with the graphical update. Now, I don't want to be negative. I don't want to insult anybody who worked on this, but I can't tell what graphical changes were even done, to be honest with you. I mean, let's be serious here for a second. When The Last of Us Part 2 initially came out on the PlayStation 4, playing it on the PS4 Pro was already some of the best PlayStation graphics of all time. I mean, seriously, just so much of the individual leaves on trees and shimmering effects and lighting and just how crazy it is to see blood spray and stuff. The graphics were already good. I can't tell a graphical update. I mean, this is definitely the PlayStation 5 version, but when it actually comes to like frame rate or resolution, it seems like just a really beautiful PlayStation 4 game, but that's not even really supposed to be a detriment. I'm just saying that this game already looked so good that even if it is getting this next-gen patch, it's not really super visible. The one major difference is load times. You have to load a lot. If you're trying to do some trophy hunting or collecting a bunch of the collectibles, you're going to be finding yourself going back to the load screen to pop a particular chapter and check what you've done so far. Load times have gone from about 1 minute to sometimes 45 seconds down to about 3 seconds, which obviously I'm very thankful about. Now, most people are not going to be spamming loads, so I feel like you probably won't even notice these differences, but if you are a trophy hunter, it's nice. And additionally, this does have a separate platinum. If you platinumed this on PS4, getting the PlayStation 5 version, you immediately get all the trophies you've already unlocked. But let's talk about the biggest additional content: the lost levels and No Return. Now, both of these I think are pretty interesting, but to me personally, No Return is the entire reason I bought this. I got the $10 upgrade. By putting the PS4 game directly in my PS5, I could just pay $10 and instantly have the PlayStation 5 update. No Return is a completely fresh take on The Last of Us. It's a roguelike. It's a game mode with randomized levels, randomized buffs and detriments, and some pretty fun encounters. Now, not everybody is into roguelikes. Some people don't like the idea of not being able to plan how a fight is going to go out, but as a fan of roguelikes, I think this is actually extremely good. For me, as a person that likes this genre of gameplay, this is worth the $10 right there. This alone is worth the upfront cost. But how does it work? So in this, you start off with just 2 characters, but by surviving, you get a chance to unlock additional heroes. People like Joel and Tommy and Jesse and all the people that we've seen in the single player story are now playable in here, and they have different benefits, either more defense, an ability to dodge faster, better accuracy, and different weapon loadouts. Kind of think of it as like the Resident Evil Mercenaries mode, but much more opened up. So essentially the way this works is that you go up to this board between each of the missions, and you basically get a chance to choose between 2 separate events. It'll basically tell you who you're fighting against and what the game mode is. There's stuff like Hunted, where you just have to survive a huge chunk of people looking to kill you. There's Assault, where you're trying to take people down. There's times where you get to have basically helpers that are assisting you in the combat. All of them are incredibly fun. There's also one where you have to do like a defense thing where there's infected and humans on the same map, and you got to try and find a way to like build up your defense and battle against people. Like, the best part of this for me is the fact that the randomized bonuses are hilarious. You'll get stuff like extra melee damage. You'll get healed if you're at low health and kill people. You get stuff like it will randomly rain Molotov cocktails. Like, if you enjoyed the combat of The Last of Us Part 2, this is just the best way to experience it. It's cool to actually play as characters that don't have dodge or have really weird weaponry and see what they can do in these randomized battles. Every time you play No Return, it unfolds through a series of events. You essentially get these branching paths to choose who you want to fight, and after a couple rounds of this, you have a big bad boss fight, like a bloater or a bunch of infected or a particular faction trying to kill you, and by surviving, you've won. You get a chance to, a lot of times, unlock new cosmetic skins or new weapon skins and stuff like that. I gotta say, I like No Return a lot. I am a fan of roguelikes, and this is a good one. It's cool that between rounds I can buy new weapons or more ammo, and there's a workbench, so you keep getting crafting materials so you can try and upgrade your like pistol or a shotgun or a rifle. Like, this is not the deepest roguelike. It's definitely kind of a little bit bare bones compared to games like Hades or, Rogue Legacy or whatever, but I think for what it's trying to do, which is a purely combat-focused mode, it gives us a chance to truly appreciate how good the fighting is in The Last of Us Part 2. The AI is great. These battle arenas, these different places we get to fight are just so beautiful and awesome to kill people in. I mean, it's great. A criticism I have heard is a term we haven't talked about in 10 years, which is ludonarrative dissonance. Some people discuss the idea of, does the story fit the universe? If you're making a game about how killing is bad, and then the game is filled with killing, does that actually make sense? I will admit that it is a bit bizarre that the entirety of the writing of The Last of Us Part 2 is about how the circle of violence is toxic, and then they make a game mode that's purely about violence. Like, I'm not insulting the developers. I'm just saying it seems like a little bit of ludonarrative dissonance, at least in my opinion. Now, the last part of this package that I feel like a lot of people will not really participate in is the lost levels. These are tiny, incomplete parts of the game itself. It's a chance to hear Neil Druckmann do a little introduction about what they were trying to make and why they cut it. These are incredibly unfinished. A lot of them don't have voice acting, they don't have animations, the lighting isn't correct, but it is a chance to kind of see what they were trying to do with some of these incomplete parts of it. A party in Jackson or hunting a boar and kind of seeing Ellie struggle with PTSD after the death of her father figure. I think the lost levels are neat, but I don't know, man. Even as a hardcore Last of Us fan, do I really care about these little extra bits? They're cool. They're interesting, but I kind of feel like this just could have been a YouTube video, or maybe even just a video in the game itself. Like, just by like, hey, here's this idea we had, but we cut it. All right, that's just my point of view. Overall, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, I like it. I definitely think it's worth the price if you're just upgrading the PlayStation 4 version. My issue basically comes down to the name itself. Remastered. This isn't a remaster. It's not really something that feels like it's cranking up the visual fidelity or bringing back a classic. I really do believe they should have called this The Last of Us Part 2 Director's Cut. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima got a director's cut. Death Stranding got a director's cut. Like, I think that's a more appropriate term for this. It's like, hey, here's the original game with a little bit extra, but boosted for the PlayStation 5. Naming aside, if you have a PlayStation 5 and if you have a physical copy of the game, I definitely think it's worth that upgrade. But if you were paying $50 for this, I don't know, that seems like a bit tougher sale. It's a great time. I do love fighting in The Last of Us Part 2, but paying $50 for this, not quite sure it's worth that. 40, 30, we'll see. But what do you guys think about this? Are you happy that The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is finally out, or does this seem like a bit of a scam? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. I literally have to move my entire house right now. I have everything in boxes except for this camera, this desk, and this PlayStation 5. But I got my new place ready, so I'm going to go move. Bye. Love you guys a bunch. Thanks for liking the video. If this video gets 3,000 likes, I'll show you the new house. But let me tell you, it's smaller. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.